Vote 2024 just weeks away. In this critical election, 6 amendments that would alter the state constitution.
I'm really only focused on 2.
Abortion. What do you know about them?
Not that much.
Marijuana. Turning school board races partisan. The right to hunt and fish.
The law is not clear.
The value of your property tax break.
Save money on your taxes. Who in the world would say no?
And paying for candidates' campaigns. You will be asked for a yes or a no vote, and we are here to break down what that means. Welcome. It is that time of election year for Local 10's Amendments 101 to break down that part of the November ballot that asks you to change, to amend the state constitution. What better way to do it than in a classroom? So class is in. There are 6 amendments for you to vote on. They're numbered 1 to 6, and on the ballot you'll see the questions are summaries of each by law, 75 words or less. And those 75 words or less may not make that question completely clear. We are here for you. In the next half hour, we will look at each of the 6 questions. We'll get beyond the noise and the partisan pull, so you have the facts and the information about what they mean and what your yes vote and what your no vote would actually do. 4 of those 6 amendments were added to the ballot by Florida lawmakers, and the other 2 were added by hundreds of thousands of voters who signed petitions to get them there. And we'll start off with those questions that have been the focus of the most controversy, the most debate, and in some cases, the most misinformation. First up, Amendment 3. Marijuana is on the ballot. It is Amendment 3, and it got there not by lawmakers, but because enough Floridians, more than 1 million, signed petitions to put it there. And it basically does 2 things. It makes marijuana use legal for adults over 21. It defines the amounts, and it also defines the business market, which we will break down here.
It's time to give responsible adults the freedom to make their own choices. Vote yes on Amendment 3.
I vote no.
Big weed, baby. We control everything.
This is one of the amendments drawing the most attention and the most debate and opposition from the state's highest places.
The amendment language says that there can be no penalties for use or possession, civil, criminal, anything. You'll be able to bring 20 joints to an elementary school. Is that really going to be good for the state of Florida?
Florida's conservative legislature does not support legal marijuana. The messaging costs, both pro and con, are in the millions of dollars, trying to sway your decision about whether to make marijuana legal in Florida, as outlined in Amendment 3.
Unlike alcohol, there's no easy way for law enforcement to detect how high you are when driving.
And it is just an outline, using as its basis the medical marijuana amendment voters approved 2-to-1 8 years ago. Just as then, if voters approve it now, lawmakers will then write specific rules and regulations and restrictions to implement it.
So the legislature has the authority and will still have the authority, and we will support those restrictions to say, hey, regulate time, place, and manner. We do it with tobacco products. You have the right to smoke tobacco products, but you don't have the right to smoke it on an airplane. You don't have the right to smoke it in a public place, a public park.
About that use, Amendment 3 says adults 21 and over may legally buy, have with them up to 3 ounces, and use marijuana. That part is that clear. The amendment also adds who can grow it and sell it. Right now, that is the 25 medical marijuana companies with more than 600 dispensaries statewide. Amendment 3 would allow lawmakers to also license non-medical entities to grow, acquire, transport, distribute, sell. You get the idea. Big business? Oh, yes. At least that's what state analysts expect based on sales tax projections. Roughly $200 to $400 million a year to the state when legal marijuana is fully operational. And there is currently no timeline to predict when.
Marijuana mega corporations spent $60 million putting
putting Amendment 3 on your ballot.
That profit incentive explains why cannabis companies bankrolling this amendment on track to spend a collective $100 million on the effort to legalize marijuana in Florida.
Amendment 3 will protect our community from dangerous illegal drugs.
Supporters do have other reasons. Decriminalizing personal marijuana use could save thousands of people from going to jail for it and save those costs, both personal and for law enforcement, though varying statistics make that hard to quantify. Amendment 3 asks whether you want Florida to join those other 24 states in green to legalize marijuana use. North and South Dakota in purple are also deciding with Florida in November. So if you support adult marijuana use being legal in Florida starting mid-next year, you would vote yes on Amendment 3. If not, you would vote no, and nothing changes. Only medical marijuana use does remain legal in Florida. Either way, there is still no Florida law that supports growing your own for personal use. Coming up, should taxpayer money continue to fuel statewide campaigns? Why you're being asked to vote on this again. Also, should school board races be partisan? How that could alter the way you vote. But first, the amendment that asks whether to return abortion rights to Florida and seal them in the state constitution.
Enough information. So many things on there that are difficult to understand or read.
The most controversial vote on this ballot may be Amendment 4, the amendment to limit government interference with abortion. That's actually what it's called. You have been targeted with tens of millions of dollars worth of ads, information, and misinformation to sway your vote. Here we will cut through all of that to the facts of what your vote will or will not do.
Like Amendment 4, an abortion amendment.
Amendment 4 is actually an abortion rights amendment. It would remove government's ability to block or delay terminating a pregnancy before the fetus is viable, and we'll zero in on that word in a moment, and or to protect a woman's health. Yes on 4! More than 1 million voters signed petitions to get Amendment 4 on the ballot as Florida lawmakers move to restrict abortion in Florida to first 15 weeks and now to 6. Since then, Florida's fight has mirrored the nation's fight.
No doctors, no limits. Vote no on Amendment 4.
Those with faith-based convictions against abortion and those demanding the right to make their own healthcare decisions.
Regardless if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, politicians should not be in this conversation.
It's a simple proposition, is that we're going to protect life.
Amendment 4 ensures that terminating a pregnancy before viability is legal health care.
The word viability never defined.
What does viability mean? Technically, it means able to survive, and in this context, outside the womb.
A ban where government decides.
Abortion until viability was Florida's long-standing law prior to recent restrictions and is recognized by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists as an individual determination around the 24th week. Amendment 4 does not change lawmakers' authority to require parents to be notified before a minor has an abortion. That stays the same.
And now, because of Florida's extreme abortion ban, I also have to tell them I can't help.
And it does not change lawmakers' authority to regulate medical services, as it does with other medical procedures. The state will retain the responsibility of ensuring healthcare providers are trained and competent and facilities are safe.
Because government will never know better than a woman and her doctor.
Amendment 4 essentially rewinds abortion access to the pre-2022 Florida law in Florida statutes and then enshrines it in the state constitution. So if you vote yes on Amendment 4, you vote to return the decision of whether to terminate a pregnancy before viability to women and their healthcare providers. If you vote no, you vote vote to keep abortion illegal in Florida after 6 weeks, with some exceptions, including for victims of sex crimes. Coming up, voting for a potentially bigger tax break for homeowners, but at what cost? And up next, Amendment 1 would bring partisan politics to electing South Florida school board members. Amendment 2 would make hunting and fishing legal in Florida. But wait, isn't it already? We'll explain. About the school board amendment, partisan school board elections. Have you heard of that? No. Have you heard of that one?
I've been so busy with my kids.
For the past 25 or 26 years, school board races have been nonpartisan elections. You know that because you vote in them. Well, Amendment 1 would change that. Simply says that school board races become partisan races as of 2026, and that means in that year, the primary before, Democrats and Republicans would choose their nominees to go to November in the school board election. It seems pretty cut and dry, but there is recent history that gives that context.
This item, as I said, item passes unanimously.
These are the people who, right now, run South Florida schools, the largest public school districts in the state. They set standards and policy, decide the tax rates they'll charge you, sometimes in sync, sometimes divided. And when you voted for your district rep on the board in their last election, their political party did not appear on the ballot, nor is it supposed to play a part in their school decisions.
There's much more interest on these school boards.
The last several years has seen school districts across the country, especially in conservative-run states, become the focus of partisan politics. You may have seen that playing out in decisions about textbooks,
the materials being recommended,
about celebrating LGBTQ months.
The majority is a no.
In curriculum changes covering race history and/or sexual health.
I will now take a roll call vote.
In South Florida, the governor has had several opportunities to appoint members to fill midterm vacancies.
I, Daniel Foganholy.
Those he chose aligned with his political perspectives.
So help me God.
Voters eventually re-elected some, replaced others. Again, their party was not technically apparent in this nonpartisan school board position. Amendment 1, if voters approve, would change that as of 2026. School board elections would become partisan. Candidates would have a D or an R next to their names on the ballot. And to get there, they'd have to win their party's primaries first. And because Florida primaries are only for the respective parties, independent voters, NPAs, no party affiliation, would not have a say in that primary process. Some lawmakers who voted to put Amendment 1 on the ballot call that transparency. Opponents of the amendment say partisan politics has no place in public schools. So what does all this mean when you go into the voting booth and you vote on Amendment 1 in November? It's really simple. Your yes vote will mean that school board races throughout the state will become partisan elections as of 2026. And if you vote no, nothing changes at all. School board elections remain nonpartisan, so you'll be voting by district instead of by party. Do you feel like you have the right to hunt and fish in Florida?
I would like to believe so. We have the right, but the law is not clear.
You are probably wondering, what are we doing in the woods? Well, we're going to talk about Amendment 2, which is the right to hunt and fish in the state of Florida. So you may be thinking, well, that sounds kind of like a solution in search of a problem, because right now you have every right legally to hunt and fish in the state of Florida. But opponents of this, largely conservationists, environmentalists, they have an issue with what they think is kind of vague wording, specifically the words traditional methods, and also things like culling the population, managing wildlife. So you think of right now hunting and fishing with a gun, maybe, but there are other methods. There are less humane methods like clubbing, like steel traps. Conservationists think that the wording doesn't do enough to outlaw those. Also, culling or managing the wildlife population or fish population by this traditional method. What does traditional method mean? And does that open the door to hunting all kinds of species that are yet unnamed? That's the kind of vagueness that opponents worry about. Other than that, it's kind of pretty simple. So if you vote yes on Amendment 2, you put the right to hunt and fish in the state constitution. Right now it's in statutes, more easily changed. And if you vote no on Amendment 2, you leave everything just as it is right now. You have the right to hunt and fish. Also worth noting, the state agency Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, they oversee all of those laws right now. Either way, that doesn't change. 2 more amendment questions to go. Amendments numbers 5 and 6 are all about the Benjamins, your homestead tax exemptions, and the money you pay to fund candidates' campaigns.
You have an opportunity to save money on your taxes. Who in the world would say no?
If it can possibly increase based on the increase in inflation, I'm all for it.
Welcome to the neighborhood. If you are a homeowner, you likely know all about your homestead exemption. That's the amount of your home's value that's taken off when you pay property taxes that saves you money. Every homeowner gets one. Some get more than others depending on the value of your home and your status, but this isn't about the math. This is about Amendment 5, which simply asks you, do you want to tie your homestead exemption to yearly inflation? And it uses the Consumer Price Index. So if inflation goes up, so does your exemption. It saves you money. Amendment 5 doesn't do anything if inflation comes down, so there is that bottom, only if it goes up. So you may be asking, why on earth wouldn't I vote for something that potentially saves money on taxes? Well, because your property taxes actually pay for government, your local government, your city, your county. Those services are paid for by your property taxes, so if they go down, that could be problematic. Just something to think about. So Amendment 5 is simply this. If you vote yes, you are tying your homestead exemption to the amount of inflation each year if it goes up and saves you money. If you vote no, everything stays the same. You have the exact same homestead exemption or more that you have right now, and nothing changes. During this election time, you may know that candidates for statewide office, that's the governor and the 3 cabinet members, they had the ability to dip into some public money to run their campaigns. That's because lawmakers some years ago thought that would be a good idea to let everyone have the ability to run for an office even if they don't have the personal wealth to do so, because campaigns can be expensive. So that's been the law, but Amendment 6 on your November ballot would give you the option of doing away with that public pot of money. The reason for that, lawmakers this last session said, you know, the $10 to $13 million that it's been could be used for better use. So now it's up to you to decide whether this pot of taxpayer money is available for those candidates for statewide office. Some people who oppose doing away with it say, hey, if you do away with it, who's going to fund campaigns besides personal wealth or possibly special interests? So that's something to think about. For Amendment 6, if you vote yes, you are doing away with a pot of public money for candidates' campaigns, those 4 campaigns for statewide office. If you vote no on Amendment 6, that public pot of money will remain available. There is something that all 6 amendment questions have in common, and that is they need more than a majority. They need 60% of the vote to pass to become part of the Florida Constitution. We hope all of this information has helped make the questions clear and your decisions a bit easier to make. We've posted it all on our website, local10.com, so you can actually take it with you to the voting booth if you like. Thank you so much for being with us this half hour for Amendments 101. And for all of us here at Local 10, thank you for watching.